So here is the first one. This one comes from our operating systems course at Mahindra University back in 2023, where we have tried a lot of creative things in the course, some of which I'll show you in these videos. So here is something which has really inspired me. It was from one of our students' teams, which have gone really creative. They were given one assignment to solve one of the toy synchronization problems, and they used this AI generated video to motivate the idea of the cigarette smokers problem. Definitely, the solution to this is followed by a lot of coding and thinking and other stuff. But I think just to motivate the problem statement, here comes the video, which I really, really liked.
Ever wondered about the cigarette smoker's problem? No, it's not about kicking a bad habit, but a classic conundrum in computer science, a tale of synchronization and coordination. Picture this. There's a round table. Around it, three individuals named Tom, Lisa, and Alex. Each has a single ingredient needed to make a cigarette. Tom has tobacco, Lisa, paper, and Alex, matches. Then enters an enigmatic supplier capable of providing all three elements. But instead of handing out full sets, the supplier places just two random ingredients on the table. Now begins a fascinating dance, a curious game of patience and precision. Tom, Lisa, and Alex each watch keenly. Their eyes flick from the table to their ingredient and then back again. They're all waiting for that perfect combination when the two items on the table complement what they hold. When that moment comes, the lucky one among them steps forward, places their ingredient on the table, and completes the trio. A cigarette is crafted and the cycle begins anew. But the road is not always smooth. Sometimes, two of them find their ingredients on the table at the same time, leading to a clash. Or one might be too slow, missing their opportunity. Such disruptions pose a threat to the rhythm, to the harmony of their collaboration. Yet they remain undeterred. They learn to handle these conflicts, to master the art of teamwork and synchronization. They learn to take turns, to be patient, to be quick when the time is right. And through this process, they manage to keep crafting their cigarettes, one after the other. So, what does this curious...
Yes, so I think that this much might be enough. I'll give you a link to this video in the description. So the idea here is that whenever we are teaching a new concept, if we could just motivate it with such a beautiful video, even if it is not precise, it might catch the attention of the students and it will really make it fun for them. So that's a first. And here comes a second idea, which I have learned lately. So in 2023, I used to create lab documents which look pretty much like this as you see on your screen. So I've done this in LaTeX, and each lab document started with a funny meme, so that students could relate to it and could already realize that these are certain topics which sort of scare the students in general, but going through these labs they can learn these. So if you go down, the lab would start. So everything here is written down. So although the examples are good, for example, to introduce the producer consumer problem here, I used an analogy of Indian kitchen where mom is cooking parathas and the child is consuming them. So becomes a producer consumer problem where they need to uh, balance their speeds. Neither the mom nor the child should be too slow or too fast, otherwise, another will enter a problem. This was the idea, and then the lab started. So there were certain basics. Here we just created two functions. So a lot of code goes around in here. And so one aspect of these labs was instead of directly coding, students were asked to sort of copy paste this code and try it on their own systems and then realize what is the problem with these codes. And I really don't think that mm, the things that they would come up with, ChatGPT would also. So they had to do some real experimentation here and think about it. And As you can see, the lab documents were full of colors. I think that also kept it interesting. Then yet another program that uses the concept of a parent and a child, which again is not a right way to solve the producer consumer problem. So they were again asked to run this code and realize what's the problem with this. And then ultimately two threads where a very basic code was given to them, and the exercise is here ask them to make certain changes to this code, run them, and then see what happens. Again, something which I thought they will gain more by doing it themselves. I don't think there is even any point in giving all of this to Chat GPT, because that won't be fun. It will only be fun if you are running these codes on your own, putting these lines, removing these lines, changing the values, the number of iterations, and then seeing what happens. So this was the whole idea of these labs. However, lately my students have told me that they don't like reading so much content. Even if I post some very basic information related to a classroom, they are like, we are not used to read that much, and we would like something which is sort of short, a YouTube short or like a TikTok video. So now I came through this very interesting idea, which was motivated by faculty launch from Harvard University, where what I did is it is Google's Notebook LM. I passed this PDF of Lab 6 over here. I uploaded it over here and I asked it to create a podcast. And that podcast is really fun to listen to as opposed to reading this lab document. So I'll just play it for some time for you, and then you can sort of try it with your own documents and think whether it would be a right strategy to include in your classrooms.
Okay, picture this. A really busy kitchen, maybe an Indian family home. You've got mom there working hard, making these amazing parathas like one after the other, hot off the.
This one over here is between two AI agents talking to each other, trying to understand what is there in this lab document. Just wanted to clarify.
Pan.
Making me hungry already.
Right. And then you have a kid super hungry, just grabbing them almost as soon as they're ready.
Yeah, I can see that.
The challenge is pretty obvious, isn't it? The kid doesn't want to wait ages, and mom doesn't want pilates piling up and getting cold or wasted. They need to sync up somehow.
That coordination, yeah. Smooth flow?
Exactly. And this whole scene, believe it or not, is a perfect picture of a basic challenge in computer science. It's actually called the producer consumer problem.
Ah, yes. Classic stuff.
Yeah, it's basically where one thing, the producer, like mom, creates stuff, data, tasks, whatever. And another thing, the consumer, the kid uses it up.
Simple concept, but surprisingly deep when you get into it.
Totally. So our mission for this deep dive is to really unpack how computers manage this balancing act. We'll look at a few different ways processes can work together. And we're also going to uncover a really critical danger that can pop up.
A hidden snag.
Yeah, exactly. We've got some technical sources we're drawing from, but don't worry, we'll cut through the jargon, get to the core ideas.
And that paratha analogy is just perfect for setting it up. Mom's the producer, child's the consumer. The goal is just smooth eating, no waiting, no waste.
Right. And how does this show up in like the real digital world?
Oh, everywhere. Think about streaming video. That's a big one.
Okay.
The streaming service is producing video frames, pushing them into like a temporary holding area, a buffer.
Uh-huh.
And
So let me stop here. This podcast over here is 15 minutes long, but you can even create 5 minutes post podcasts to maybe motivate a topic. And I think it's a really interesting way because students don't have to sit in front of a screen to do it. Once you share these podcasts with them, they can hear these while listening, while walking or while doing anything else, while doing their household chores or while cleaning their hostel rooms. Yeah, so these are certain things that we can do. And in my later videos, I'll come up with more approaches.